Earth's population reached the 7 billion mark for the first time in late 2011. Since then, the growth has been strong, and in 2017, our population is nearing 7.5 billion people. And I don't know about you guys, but anytime I go to a public place, whether I'm trying to, find a parking spot, find a deserted public bathroom, waiting in line, I feel like that number is about twice too many people. But as we're about to learn together, that number pales in comparison to the planets of the Star Wars universe. So today's video, which is just meant to be a quick one as I'm working on 2 other projects for you guys, is the top 5 most populous planets in the Star Wars galaxy. So I've only got one real rule in making this list, and that's that I'm not going to guess planet populations. And the reason for that is simple. The numbers that we're dealing with here are just off the charts. They're unreal. We've got 3 planets that are in the hundreds of billions and 2 planets in the trillion range. And that's just not really something that you can guess. So I'm only going to work with planets that have had some sort of source that gives them a number for their population. So kind of further to this point, and just out of necessity, I'm going to be working with Legends material today, because if we were dealing with only canon material that gave us population numbers, we'd have 1 planet on this list, and it'd be Khorasan. A fun little fact before we begin is that every planet on this list is an ecumenopolis, which is basically Greek for world city. So what that means is the entire planet is covered by a single spanning city, a planet-wide city. And this term isn't native to Star Wars, and although the word ecumenopolis only really came about in the 60s, of course the idea has been around for much longer. And I don't know about you guys, but I've always been a big fan of megastructures, large cities, skyscrapers, all of that sort of stuff. So this video kind of combines my 2 passions, being that architecture and that engineering with my favorite science fiction franchise, Star Wars. So this is a fun video, and we're probably going to see more like this in the future. The 5th most populous planet in the Star Wars universe is Danan, with a population of 500 billion people. Although Wikipedia claims that Danan is the 2nd most populous planet in the Star Wars universe, as we're going to get to, that was clearly false. That's not to take away from the planet, and it's got a very interesting history and has been around for a very long time. And it was actually formed 25,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, which, although not as old as Khorasan, is still pretty damn old. Probably the most notable thing about the planet is that it temporarily served as the Republic's capital after the Yuzong-Vong War. Of course, Khorasan will later become the capital again, but still, it's pretty interesting that it had a brief moment in the spotlight. And of course, with its high population, it was always a pretty important planet. And throughout galactic history, particularly during the Galactic Civil War, it served as a fortress planet and was always pretty heavily protected by Imperial forces. In fact, the Battle of Danan was actually a candidate for my 5 largest battles list. The Battle of Danan happened during the early Galactic Civil War, but really there's just not enough information about the forces, so I decided to keep it off. The book The Life and Legend of Obi-Wan Kenobi also features a mining company called Danan Ardu Mutual, which takes its name from the planet. In the current canon, Maximilian Veers, who, if you don't remember, is one of the commanders during the Battle of Hoth, he's actually the one who destroys the Rebel shield generator, hails from the planet, so that's kind of interesting. The last little interesting tidbit about Danan is that Dr. Evazan, who, the name probably doesn't ring a bell, but you guys definitely remember him, he's the guy from A New Hope who gets tough with Luke and not the one with the testicles on his chin. He actually went to trial for murder on Danan. If you remember, he references being wanted in a bunch of star systems. Clearly one of them was Danan, because he goes on trial there. He escapes. Just keep this in mind, because he actually makes an appearance later in the list, so just an interesting little thing. Number 4 on this list is Terrace. And if you don't know what Terrace is, and you're watching this video, get the fuck off YouTube and go play Knights of the Old Republic. Terrace was an outer rim planet which at one point was quite wealthy, but later lost a lot of that wealth due to changing hyperspace lanes and a lack of really people coming to and from the planet. The most notable thing about Terrace is that you visit it in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, at which time it's being blockaded by the Sith army as they're looking for a Jedi who's believed to be on the planet. Terrace had a population of over 900 billion citizens, many of who lived among the lower levels of the city where light didn't even penetrate. They were basically outcasts compared to those who stayed on the upper levels. During the Jedi Civil War and early on in the KOTOR 1 video game, the planet is decimated by a Sith bombardment. They basically rain hellfire down on the planet until it's pretty much completely destroyed. And although the planet did manage to rebuild itself after thousands of years, it never was able to really fully get back to where it was before the devastating bombing. Terrace has actually been brought over to the new canon through several books, including the Tarkin book and the Aftermath trilogy, so I know plenty of Old Republic fans were happy with that. And actually in Star Wars Rogue One, one of the Alliance members is actually supposed to be the senator from Terrace, so that's pretty cool. The third most populous planet in the Star Wars universe is Metellus. Like Terrace, Metellus had a population of over 900 billion inhabitants. However, unlike Terrace, it didn't get totally ganked by an ancient Sith fleet, so I give it number 3. There's not a lot of information about this planet, and it's never really appeared in a major way in any sort of Star Wars material, legends, or canon. The only things we really know are that it had a huge population, with many people actually living in floating cities, that the planet was actually colonized from humans who came from Khorasan, probably because of overpopulation there, and that there have been several battles over the planet, including the Battle of Metellus during the Galactic Civil War. So, although this planet hasn't really been brought to the new canon yet, and it hasn't really been explored even in the Legends canon, the fact that it does have a reported population of over 900 billion people mandate its inclusion into this list. But that's all I got for you on it. The number 2 most populous planet in the Star Wars universe, and in fact, the first planet on our list to break 1 trillion people, that's a 1 with 9 zeros, is Alsa Khan. Alsa Khan is interesting because it's been a major player in the galaxy for thousands of years and has had a rivalry with Khorasan, and they've actually fought several wars over this 1,000 years. Alsa Khan, along with several other well-known planets including Alderaan, Chandrila, Corellia, Coruscant, Duro, Quat, and others, is part of the core founder group, and that's basically the founding worlds of the Galactic Republic. Like Coruscant and other planets, Alsa Khan has also frequently been the subject of battles for its control. Notably, during the Imperial Civil War 10 years after the Battle of Yavin, 2 Imperial factions fought each other using Star Dreadnoughts, one being an Executor-class Super Star Destroyer, with the other being a Manticore 3 class Dreadnought. And they actually blew each other up in battle, so no one really won that one. One thing which I think is interesting, which I might explore in a later video, is the relationship between Coruscant and Alsa Khan, and most notably, despite the fact that they have very, very similar roots, and that they're both very human-heavy planets, they have very different cultures, and like I've said, they've had that ongoing rivalry. Alsa Khan has been canonized, and in the new canon, it's actually the homeworld of Dr. Evazan, who I mentioned earlier, the not the Balchin guy, but the other guy from New Hope. So that's that other connection, that other weird connection that I told you guys was in this video. It's even weirder because, based on my understanding, I don't think any other character is actually said to come from that planet, at least in the new canon. So guys, we're at the number 1 most populous planet in the Star Wars universe, and I don't think this one was ever at doubt. It's Coruscant. Coruscant has been the most important planet in the galaxy for pretty much all of recorded history, and has been the capital for dozens, if not hundreds, of empires throughout the years. It's hard to know exactly how high Coruscant's population is, but some have estimated that it's as high as 3 to 4 trillion individuals. Being such an important planet, and given that it's appeared so many times in both Legends and canon, the description of Coruscant over the years has changed pretty dramatically. It's pretty much always been considered to be one city, and that was George Lucas's original vision for the planet. Sometimes it had seas, sometimes it was all land, which currently is all land, and sometimes there were mountains. It's all changed, but really the most important thing is that the planet is one huge city that goes on seemingly forever. Along with the massive amounts of people, Khorasan is also home to the Senate District, the Jedi Temple. It's got a really vibrant underworld, and of course, Emperor Palpatine's Imperial Palace was on the planet. And of course, many other planets see themselves as rivals to Coruscant, or as the competition with Coruscant. Truly, in the Star Wars universe, Coruscant stands alone, both in population and just in general galactic importance. In the new canon, Coruscant is still the same heavily populated planet it always was in Legends. However, interestingly, as I covered in a previous video, the New Republic no longer treated Khorasan as a homeworld, instead choosing to favor a rotation among various other planets, which is kind of nice because it saved the planet from destruction in Episode 7. And I mean, really, given that Coruscant is the native planet for the modern humans in the Star Wars universe, has been the center of the Republic for pretty much the entire galactic history, and there's been countless events on Coruscant. I could probably dedicate my whole YouTube channel to talking about the planet. So I'm going to cut it off on here. If you guys want to read more, check out Wikipedia, check out Reddit, check out anywhere, because people are always happy to talk about Coruscant. Before I go, I want to once again feature a member of the community in this week's Community Spotlight, and today it is Masterge777. He has a really insightful and interesting comment on my Admiral Thrawn video, where basically he talks about the state of the universe in the current canon as compared to the Legends, and basically talks about what is brought into the new canon, whether the Yuzang Vong will be brought into the new canon, what Palpatine plans to do with Thrawn, etc. So check that out, give his comment a like. And I also saw on his YouTube page that he links to a DeviantArt profile, so go ahead and give that a check out too, guys. I also want to give a quick shout out to Rick Grimes, not the guy from The Walking Dead, the YouTube user, just because he asked me to, and hey, why not? So hey Rick, hope everything is going well. Anyways, thanks again for the second time for watching. This has been Eckhart's Ladder. I'm probably going to stream this weekend, so keep an eye out, but until then, I'll talk to you guys soon.